Well, let's go now to San Diego and speak with Wendy Patrick, attorney and legal analyst. And Wendy, if it is these three candidates that everybody's been talking about, it seems like we have here a more establishment conservative in Kavanaugh, a more, let's say, committed social conservative in Barrett, and there's something of a dark horse in this Raymond Kethledge. If you were advising the president, who do you think would make the best pick for the court?
Well, I might think about what Mitch McConnell had to say over the weekend, which is very good advice, given that he probably has a good barometer or indicator of who's going to be a confirmable candidate. Because let's face it, already we know that all of these candidates were already vetted by the Federalist Society. They're all conservative, but they're not all confirmable. They're certainly not all consensus candidates. So maybe you go with a Kethledge as opposed to a Kavanaugh, who has a lot of material the Democrats can pick apart, delay the confirmation. If you go with Barrett, we've been talking a lot about some of the issues that she raises, and we saw a lot of that during her own confirmation hearing to the circuit she sits on last year. But it might also be nice to have a woman candidate, and that might be difficult for some to vote against an otherwise qualified woman candidate. So it's hard to say, and I got to tell you, had you asked me this a week ago, I would have said Barrett. I noticed that Hardiman didn't even make that list of three, that short list of three that we just reported on, despite all of the good press that he got over the weekend. So I guess the bottom line is this is only adding to the drama that's playing out in advance of tonight's announcement.
Right, and drama in many ways seems to be how President Trump likes it. That's not by chance that it's a big 9 p.m. Eastern televised announcement that he's making. So everything about who he might pick will be speculation until 9 on the dot. But let's talk about some of the issues this Supreme Court, whatever its new makeup will be, is going to have to deal with. Among them, the powers of the president. What kind of decisions might they have to make?
Nurit, that's a great example of what we saw in Gorsuch and the travel ban and the broadening of executive power. And that's exactly what some of the Democrats are worried about. They're worried that because we're going to have a more conservative court, regardless of who makes it through, let's say it's even a consensus candidate, we already know they're all conservative, that it might broaden the executive powers of the president. But that belies this assertion and this oath that each judge takes to judge cases based on the facts and based on precedent. So they can't be political decisions. They're going to have to be decisions that are based on settled law. So it's not true necessarily that even a conservative pick is going to guarantee the president gets a rubber stamp. We've already seen that. Gorsuch doesn't even always vote with the president, nor have the conservative picks in the past always voted with conservative presidents just because that's who appointed them. So I think that those concerns are a little overblown, but it is true that conservative values might at least lean in the president's favor.
Well, let's look at another hot issue, Wendy, abortion. A lot of the concerns about Barrett is whether she would be the swing vote that could overturn Roe v. Wade. Looking at the issue bigger, do you think whoever this is the pick that could swing the court against Roe v. Wade, at the very least, just send abortion back to the states to decide?
You know, Roe v. Wade is settled law since 1973, and everybody in their confirmation hearing is going to be asked whether or not they are going to respect precedent and respect settled law. I think the broader question, perhaps the more relevant question that these candidates will get, or whoever the nominee is in the confirmation hearing, is are they going to erode other kinds of abortion protections, regardless of their personal beliefs? And that's what it comes down to again. Personally pro-life justices can respect settled precedent. It doesn't mean they're going to vote to overturn cases that are settled law simply because personally they may hold different views. There are lots of pro-life senators or lots of pro-life politicians. That doesn't necessarily mean and shouldn't mean they're going to let that drive their politics or their jurisprudence in the case of these justices.